How we doing, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another episode of The Kingdom Says. I am your host, as always, Garrett Williams, and we have got a very, very special episode here for you today, because in the first time in this podcast's 2-year history, 2+ year history at this point, we can finally say the Chiefs are Super Bowl champions. So, join me, as always, my two co-hosts. We've got Kyle Henning. Kyle, how are we doing today, sir?
Doing well. This Monday doesn't quite have the same euphoria as last Monday did, but we had to make sure we had all three of us together for this one. So took a little break, let everybody else do their big celebratory immediately after the thing podcast, and now we get to do our thing for what's been one of the more entertaining and enjoyable years to be a Chiefs fan, I think, for this group on this show, because, well, a lot of things went, shall we say, according to plan, fellas? According to best possible call out that we gave out basically to start the year. So I'm doing pretty good with that front. Ready to talk about what was an incredible game last Sunday, and ready to enjoy this with you fellas. So
I don't even know if I can agree. Oh, hold on. I'll let Garrett.
Arrowhead Tom, as always, join us.
I don't even know if I can agree that this is best possible. Like, it is the best possible outcome, but I don't even know if we could talk about like even last recording we had before the Super Bowl. One of the things I said was, remember the expectation, realistic expectations. And Kyle, I know you've been pretty confident, but I'll be honest. I think Garrett, you and I were in the same boat. I think a lot of Chiefs Kingdom was in the same boat.
I didn't say this. And we've said,
including people that we look up to and respect a lot. We, as much as they threw around the whole rebuilding year narrative for outside folks, we bought into that just as much. And this is about as big of a.
Well, but it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it was allegedly.
That's the thing.
In that sense, but
it's friggin' supposed to be.
I also am just going to apologize off the top. Like you said, we've been waiting to get together, and with the festivities and everything else going on, and then of course now that we're all together, I've got this lovely cold. So if it sounds like I am on my deathbed, that's actually pretty accurate. Yeah. So this will probably be our last episode with me in it, because these sinuses are just going to be the end of me.
And if it sounds like you can't hear me, it's probably because my computer has decided not to work for the last 45 minutes. So it might be the last episode with the computer.
It's been quite an event.
I'll leave you my mic and my will, Kyle. I'll make sure it gets to you.
I'm going to need a computer because I'm going to throw this one out the window if it doesn't fit.
Yeah, it's been quite an event to get to record tonight. But we are here, and we're going to basically kind of just talk about what our takes on the Super Bowl were. Obviously, like Tom mentioned, it wasn't like the most perfect of years as Chiefs fans. There was some up and downs for sure, and there was a lot of times, preseason, during the season, where I think there were some serious doubts about what this Chiefs team had in them, and then all of a sudden January and February come around, and it's just like magic in the air. It's a whole new team. The team is just all cylinders are going, all the gears are clicking, like everybody is on the same page finally, and obviously it paid off in the Super Bowl. All the matchups that the Chiefs were, predicted to lose by all the analysts, and the Eagles were better in every category, supposedly, allegedly, and did not end up going that way for the game. So, quick.
The 1 foot. All right. Yes. Well, I know.
Quick thoughts here before we really dive into the meat and potatoes of the game and talk about kind of the key playmakers. Quick thoughts overall. Your reaction, Kyle. You should go first here. Your reaction to it, to winning. I just want the reaction to winning on Sunday and what that was like, and how it has been since then.
This one felt different than the first one. That first one was just the deep breath. Oh my God, we did it.
Yeah.
And I think Travis said it in his interview at one point, at one of the 1,000 interviews he's done this last 10 days or whatever. And shout out if y'all miss him on Saturday Night Live on March 4th. That's a you problem, because that's going to be electric. This one felt different because this one means more. It's a validation of, yeah, this is ours. We belong here. This is the dynasty, and there's more. This can be done again and again, because as we just talked about to open this, they had 11 draft picks. They had 6 of them play significant snaps. I think Leo probably played more snaps than he's played all year in the freaking Super Bowl. So we can get to that when we get to the defense. But like, that's the kind of year we're talking about. And they won. And Mahomes said it at the parade, which shout out to all million plus of you who were also there with myself and my wife. It was a heck of a time. Considerably more than the first time around. I think the weather contributed to that. So
yeah,
but the initial reactions was just validation, and the immediate reaction after the game wasn't the like blackout. Like basically after the first one, it was like I just like blacked out, and like I don't remember like 35 minutes after we won the game. Like it was just like, oh, the relief. Oh my God, we did it. This one, it was just, yes, let's go again. We did it as we're supposed to. Let's do it again. And I know that seems like we make fun of the Tuscaloosa fan, but they can do this because when we sit back and look at this team, as we've talked about all season, we talked about the rookies aren't rookies anymore. Well, guess what, guys? That's a lot of really cheap team control friendly contracts that are playing starting roles on this team. So that kind of sets you up to do, and I'm sure we'll have 2 months of Tom and I and Garrett and everybody else under the sun to talk about this. Pretty much whatever you want come April, because he's got ammo, and they don't really need much.
Did you just reference the draft?
Oh geez.
I didn't say the D word. You keep that word
you did.
out of your
Time was the
vocabulary
first
for
one
this
to say
episode.
it.
You can have we can have your little bitty talk about it at the end when we
all
promote
right.
our friends.
Tom,
over at
Tom,
Just
Tom,
So-
your reaction to Sunday? How was it?
So this one was special for me. The first one, 19. Unfortunately, at the time, I was living in a whole different setup a lifetime ago, really, and I didn't make the trip back to watch it with my dad and my brothers. And this year, I did. It was a lot of driving and a late night and all that stuff. But I remember I drove home. It was about a 4-hour drive afterwards, and I was just buzzed the whole time. Not buzzed. I mean, like just energetic. To be clear,
Of course.
Don't drink and drive, folks.
Please don't. It ruins lives, and not just yours, others.
So Scout agrees. But seriously, getting to watch that with my brothers, my dad, that's the first one we got to watch together. I think one of the few deep regrets I'll have in my life is not watching that first one with them, but getting to watch it with them. Getting to jump up out of our seats and ended up with a big group hug. I should mention I'm the smallest guy of my brothers. I'm 6'2". And so when I say
I didn't believe it.
Yeah, so when I say that it was just a big old meaty hug in the middle of our living room, and we almost destroyed the ceiling fan. I was like, watch the fan. No, it was great. I got to spend it with family. And that's the biggest thing. Beyond the game is just getting to spend it with family. It was a stressful game.
Really stressful.
Yeah, it was a stressful game. I think it's a classic game. It was such a good game, but for me, everything was about being with my family for it, and being able to say that I got to watch them win one with my dad, with my brothers. After watching the games religiously growing up, suffering through, the Damon Hewards and Matt Castles and Tyler Thigpens and Kyle Ortons and Brody Croyles and Tyler Palcos and the
you didn't go far enough back. Did you say Gerbach?
Yeah, Gerbach. I mean, there was a little bit of hope with Trent Green. That was fine for
Trent Green was kind of a dog.
Yeah, Trent Green was cool. But yeah, I mean, it was rough, man. Like before, and that's the other part is just like, it's a weird time to be a Chiefs fan because people are like, "Oh, the Chiefs are so good and they've always been good," and you're a bandwagon fan, and it's just
It's like,
it's
nah.
amusing at this point. Yeah, it's more amusing than anything
There's a
else.
lot of suffering involved.
You don't get to pull that card with this fan base. And I wasn't.
Yeah.
Tom brought this up, and before Garrett gives his full thoughts, just to kind of keep that train before we go back and get Garrett's, because I think his might be a slight bit more family oriented than more fun oriented than where I'm going to go with this. This one was, I don't want to, when I said this one was more validation based for me, I don't want to say that this one wasn't special, because from a family aspect, this one was a bit different for me. You guys both know the guy, my grandfather, who kind of got me into the Chiefs and got our whole family into the Chiefs, passed away right after the day after Christmas. And this one, Tom said this one was stressful, and oddly, this one I was pretty calm the whole time. And I don't know if that was part of why, but it definitely helped. And this one, that one, it was special in that regard, because that was probably my first thought, other than the validation, was he got to watch that one for free easily and right up on top of it. So
yeah, he had a good seat in the house. I will say, very stressful for me. And yeah, I was surrounded by family. It was a good time. It was similar to the first one, where I think there was a time in the middle where I went to my room, and it was kind of a little bit on the downside. There was a time right before halftime, it was like looking pretty rough, and it was like, geez, I don't know about this game. But yeah, I think this one really just more stressful, and more stressful really because it was like a shootout more than anything, I think. Like it really came down all the way to the end, where it's like the emotions, it's not like you could be excited for an extended period of time like the first one, where it's like we had the lead and then it's kind of we're good after that Damian Williams touchdown. I don't know, that one was still close to the end.
This one was so down to the wire.
I mean, yeah, all the way down to like finally when Butker kicked it through, that's when it was like, yeah, here we go. Yeah. We actually have a good chance to win the Super Bowl after the squib kick or whatever. But it was good.
Yeah.
It was a really good time. Definitely a different feeling than the first one, where it's the first one was kind of like a sigh of relief of like, yeah, we've seen a Chiefs Super Bowl win in our lifetime. You know, we've at least got that knocked out of the way. And that year too, it was kind of different, because it's like we were in overtime away in the AFC Championship the year before, and so it was pretty much Super Bowl or bust that year, right? Like. Everyone knew the Chiefs were going to the Super Bowl. This year was like the complete opposite, where everything was falling apart. No, there was no shot that the Chiefs were making it, basically, according to everybody.
The Raiders, the Broncos,
every other. Yeah, it was just a really interesting offseason to be a Chiefs fan.
The favorites to win the AFC next year.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we do want to take a moment to congratulate the Los Angeles
Chargers. They've won the offseason, and we haven't already.
They've done it again, folks. They've done it again.
Before the season was even over, it's uncanny.
The year hasn't started. They haven't made a single freaking move other than lose coaches.
So
safe to say the Chiefs have just a lot more underrated this year, and going in the past couple years than they were in 2019.
GIF of what are we doing, and make him in a big red t-shirt, and stick it on a t-shirt, because I am going to spam that GIF every time.
But overall, Super Bowl, I mean, it was a good time. Ultimately, very excited afterwards, and then just I think the past week has been a really fun time on Twitter. Just all the receipts, all the people.
Friends are getting involved too. Them groups are over there.
Yeah, I'm about to say there's a lot of
all the screenshots.
There's a lot of bragging rights that the Chiefs got and Chiefs fans got with this one, because literally everyone could have.
Material on earth, man.
Yeah, because I mean, to be fair, like everyone had a very valid point of saying all these things, but it did not matter.
Kyle mentioned validation, and I'm not going to name names because I don't necessarily want to give this person more attention than what they are desperately crying for nearly every day on Twitter and the Chiefs.
Are you potentially referring to the biggest failure of Last Chance U that somehow still is talking publicly?
Oh no, not that. No, I would not.
Jeez, we won't talk about that guy.
Yeah, we won't even. I'm talking about as a fan, somebody who said, and I quote, Joe Burrow will get his first before Patrick gets his second. And that receipt floated across my timeline this week. And I am lying if I tell you that I didn't stop for a minute and just took it in. Just took it in. Didn't have to say anything.
Give them a couple initials or something. Give them a hint for who tweeted that, Jim.
I will say that this individual is known for their allegiance to the Cincinnati Bengals as long as they're successful, and depending on some other teams, maybe for the boys, maybe there's a little bit of a checkered history there, but they are a die-hard Cincinnati Bengals fan since like 2020.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I've pieced together who you got there. So on that same vein, where we're that individual has made. Scroll your Twitter timeline, Garrett. You'll find it. On that same vein, you guys talked about something though that I wanted to touch on in your guys' reactions and you guys didn't have the this is ours until Butker hit the field goal. And honestly, for me, and I know I talked earlier, this is a different feel for me this whole game a little bit, and I was a little up and down through that first, half where it was like, why do we always do the 10-point thing? Why every game? But
especially Mahomes, he's getting ankle rolled up on the end there too. It's like, oh no.
It's the meme that kills me every time I see it. It's Patrick Mahomes. This is, you've got a 10-point lead. Now you must pay the Patrick price. And I can't. Every time, man. Every time.
It's good. So on that note, though, I didn't expect a player to say this out loud. I also didn't expect an opposing player to say this out loud or get caught on the mic'd up with it. But for me, that game ended when they kicked that field goal.
Right. AJ Brown.
When they kicked the field goal to go from 24-21 to 27-21, I went, that's not field goals are fine in the first 30 minutes in this game. They don't work in the second half against this quarterback. That's a problem. And it wasn't just A.J. Brown. And I just was surprised he said it out loud because most of the time the players don't say the quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
He said it. And Jason Kelsey said it on the podcast with Travis. We know against Patrick Mahomes, field goals don't work.
Yeah, that was a big win.
They kicked 2 of them. We kicked 2 of them, and one of ours doinked, and we still won the game. Or actually, we kicked 3 of them. One of ours doinked, and we still won the game.
Yeah, well, no, that was a big win to end that drive, them only getting a field goal, and it's finally like, okay, we have a chance to actually take the lead with a score here.
With that said, though, and like I said, for me, that being the point, what was it then and all the way up to Butker, and I guess even, I would say, up to even McKinnon stopping at the 1-yard line not being enough for you guys to be like, are you just worried Butker's going to miss a 27-yarder?
No, I guess really I was a little more comfortable, especially after the Kadarius Toney punt return. That's when it really set in, like, oh man, this, like, not only that's when it set in, like, this might not be as hard of a victory to finish out, like now all of a sudden it's like that is a huge play that will get us over that hump, and even stopping him on that drive was pretty huge because we still had a 1-point lead at that point, right? So it was a win. So but even still with Butker, I mean, I can't say I wasn't nervous Butker lining that one up. Just I know Butker's automatic, but he's you never know. You just never know. Tom, what do you think?
So no, I think the punt return was the moment, and that Sky Moore touchdown. I was just going to share, ironically, so the game had been kind of rough, and they it was close, and I had been glued to the TV, and I remember going, all right, they're going to punt the ball here. I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick and come back, and I was in the bathroom, and I know, and like I couldn't do anything. I was midstream. Midstream, man, and I couldn't.
You risked the bathroom after what Sky did last week on the punt return.
Listen, it was a rookie move. I know,
especially
rookie move.
They had a backup rookie punter who I didn't even know they had a backup punter until he punted it. That was awful.
That was an interesting development.
I will say, man, shout out to Kadarius Toney for having a great second half. But yeah, that play, that did it for me. That was all the momentum shift. I was like, all right, we're gonna do this.
shout out to him for maintaining his feet, because I definitely thought he was going down when he stopped, because that field was an ice rink, and I say that as somebody who's played hockey and
my gosh.
most of my time on ice. That was insane.
Yeah, I mean, you would have thought they were playing in a swamp with the way.
Yeah, that ended up the field conditions ended up being one of the bigger talking points of the game after the fact, and even during the game, if you watch the mic,
same freaking field.
Yeah, but even if you were watching the mic'd up, like even the players were talking about it on the sideline. How bad the field was.
Noticeable. They got to stop worrying about making the grass green, guys. I don't care if the grass is green.
Well, yeah,
run on the grass. Is that more important?
Yeah, it was interesting. They used some kind of special golf grass
and
instead of like normal turf. Yeah, and it was not the best setup. And that was a big talking point.
I brought up the comfortability thing to bring up this for two pieces. Because one, Tom mentioned setting proper expectations, and then you guys talked about not being comfortable until that ball basically was through, or that Kadarius Toney run. The expectations have changed, and the players know it, especially the players that need to know it. 15, 87, 95. Those three guys are aware that the expectations are different. The expectations now are, do you have Patrick Mahomes? Yes. Super Bowl contender. That's it. And it's basically the expectations now are, do you have Patrick Mahomes and are you somewhat competent and halfway put together? Yeah. Then it's Super Bowl or bust. There's no more. This isn't the YMCA anymore, especially for this team in the professional sports level. Guys, the expectation from now forward is every year is a Super Bowl year. That's just what it is. And it's because of what they did this year. And I think we need to remember that and acknowledge that. And we need to properly assign credit to some people who we will do so throughout this episode, I am sure. But I just wanted to touch on that point because I think that's really important to what we talk about on this show. It's going to be a theme of this show going forward, I have a feeling, for the next, hopefully, 15-ish, 20 years, boys. So that thing and is the key for me in this whole Super Bowl. That's if we did a what did we learn segment, that's what I learned. That's the new reality for this team, this organization, this fan base. Well, you wanted to be the Patriots, kids? You are.
Yep. I mean, this is as much as the popular, a lot of we're in the seat of people don't like us because they're so good. What we saw in this game was not just validation, but it was legacy defining. It was defining. I will say this with complete confidence now. Andy Reid is a top 5 coach in NFL history, period. Patrick Mahomes, Hall of Fame quarterback at 27 years old. It's all gravy from here. Dude's going into Canton, if that wasn't clear enough, right? 2 rings before 27, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, first MVP to win Super Bowl in 20 years.
Keep going.
On and on and on and on. And the dude did it on one leg, right? Like I think we're going to look back at this and understand that this was not like, when you look at the like picture of all of that and understand, one of the things that like I just was hoping, like, and I don't think he'd ever do it, but like just, I don't know if you guys have ever seen a high ankle sprain. I don't know if you've ever seen what it looks like when it bruises and swells, and I think of a couple many years ago when Brett Favre played on one for the Vikings, and there was a picture of his foot that got leaked shortly after, I think it was the NFC Championship game against the Saints, and that thing it didn't look like a human foot, and so I just I think of like Patrick, the amount of just sheer willpower he had, and we saw him in pain, and I think he said that that hit in the Super Bowl was the most pain he'd been in since the initial injury. Like it was just wild. Like that was gritty. So here it is, legacy defining. You have Andy Reid as a top 5 coach in NFL history. You have Patrick Mahomes solidifying himself as a Hall of Fame quarterback and one of the best, if not, and will very likely finish his career as in the discussion as
he's already best on the Rushmore.
Yes, and then one that I think gets overlooked, and this is we'll throw this out there. Here's my spicy meatball take for the day. Brett Veach. I don't know what GM in the NFL you're going to take over him. Anybody got? Brett Veach,
None.
one of the best, if not the best GM in the NFL. Gentlemen?
I mean, the roster how he sculpted this roster this year, it's crazy. It's actually crazy to kind of think about in hindsight. Like this, it doesn't happen. It just does not happen. Like you don't have 11 rookies contributing. You don't have 6, 7, 8 guys who are getting meaningful snaps in the Super Bowl who are all rookies who you completely just replaced a veteran cast of guys who have been there for the last Super Bowl. I mean, there were so many guys not on this team from the last Super Bowl.
There were 16 players that have 2 rings for this team.
So,
yeah. Like you lose out on what? You lose Tyrann Mathieu, you lose
2/3 of the roster.
You know, Tyreek Hill, you lose guys like Charvarius Ward, you lose guys like all over the place.
Who were starting in that first Super Bowl.
Starters, like you're losing starters, replacing them with rookies, and just banking on them showing up and learning, and they did. Like the evaluation process, his whole team, hats off to him.
At risk of repeating what I did after the AFC Championship game, where I pulled receipts somewhat on the Andy Reid, Brett Veach, Eric Bieniemy conversation, Spagnuolo, Tobe, all the everybody has to be fired crap. Okay, look, y'all.
Might still have to talk about Tobe. Just kidding.
What Brett Veach? I'm gonna narrow it down to 2 specific ones right now because I think their impact on this specific season. Actually, I'm gonna go 3 because I have to. Is tantamount to, and they're not going to be the main names that we talk about. We talk about Andy all the time. We talk about Spags all the time. Those are names we talk about constantly. Eric Bieniemy, who we are losing to Washington, and I say losing because I know some of this fan base doesn't think that he matters, but you guys are idiots if that's still what you think. I'm sorry. Because one of the things that he did in this Super Bowl specifically, I don't know if he just sat next to Andy Reid while he was sleeping for 2 weeks and went, we're going to run the ball more. We're going to run the ball more. We're going to consistently run the football. No. We're going to run the ball. We're going to at least get 20 touches. We're going to at least get 20 rushes. No, we're going to run the ball. Because, look, y'all, we have been watching Andy Reid coach football games for how long?
Many, many years.
In huge games. And we talked about on this show.
Big games.
They default back to what they know, correct? What does Andy do? They throw. What did they do in this game? Patrick had 182 freaking yards, y'all. Now, was he 13 for 14 in the second half and the only throwaway hit the friggin' stadium bleachers because he was thrown it out of the back of the end zone because they covered his tackle on the trick play? Yes.
Yeah.
Look, y'all. They ran the football consistently. They ran the right running plays. They took that Philadelphia Eagles defense. They had a positive EPA on the ground. 0.24 on the ground. That
Talk
doesn't
about the right
happen.
running plays. They ran all of the right running plays.
Okay, that's Eric Bieniemy's piece. Here's one of the other guys, Brett Veach, is who we just started this with, which is what brought me to this. He took Spagnuolo's I won't play rookies and said, guess what, bud? That's all you have. You don't have anything else. You have
trade away Rashad Penny.
Bunch of old dudes who are playing limited snaps who have to be rotational players, and you have 10-year-olds. And this is no offense to the rookies. It's just when it comes to NFL standards, that's a fact. When they started at rookie minicamp, they might as well have been learning what a school lunch was with passing periods and hall passes.
I mean,
you don't know
literally
the difference between elementary and middle.
We talked about this after the draft. I think all but maybe 1 or 2 guys in that draft class were like 22 and younger. George Karlaftis had turned 21. Like he was maybe only able to drink for like 6 months of the year. Like
kids were just turning 21. Go look at the results of the parade.
There
was a wheelchair. There were dudes being carried.
Yeah, I'd say.
There were. But to the point,
some great experiences.
We're done with fire so-and-so every freaking year in the middle of the season. We're done with that entirely when it comes to Veach, especially because what he did this year was he took Spagnuolo's crutch away from him entirely. He traded Rashad Fenton, and everybody went, "Oh my God, we just traded Rashad Fenton. What happened?" And guess
You're
what?
a pro Rashad Fenton podcast, but
and I like Rashad Fenton. This is not knocking Rashad Fenton, but it worked.
Not good for us that year.
You know, he did everything that you have to do, all the stuff that fans don't like. He traded the big name guy that we're supposed to keep, a la Randy Moss, a la name a New England Patriot that they didn't pay, that they got rid of to get a bunch of depth back. They did all the hard stuff, and his scouting department absolutely hammered it. The third person that gets no talk and was a defensive coordinator last season is Joe Cullen. And what that defensive line group did after all of, and because I can't get to everybody because Andy Heck deserves one too, but Joe Cullen and what that D-line group did, from what that D-line group was last season to what they were this season to what they did in the postseason, you have to talk about it, because they took a group of Frank Clark and Carlos Dunlap and a bunch of kids, and they put 55 sacks up, got second in the league in sacks, and they made every big play they needed to in down the stretches, and they did the thing they had to do, which was keep the linebackers clean in the Super Bowl. And what happened? Dividends.
So, pop quiz, because I just learned this stat today. How many rookies from this year's draft class played over 600 snaps for Kansas City?
Does that include special team snaps?
Including special team snaps.
I don't know the number, but I'm going to say 8.
7?
7. We have, I got one more. One that just missed the cutoff. The answer is 6.
Oh,
George Karlaftis.
I feel like
Karlaftis played 730 snaps on defense and 70 on special teams. That's 800 snaps.
It should have been 8, but there's guys that missed a ton of time because of friggin' injuries.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say there's. I will say this just for reference, right? I think Frank Clark, we've established him as a starter. He played about 717. He obviously didn't play any special teams. So, going down the list here, Leo Chenal barely missed the list at 542 snaps. By the way, Leo,
the guy we said barely touched the field for like the entire season.
But he saved his best for last, man. He was eating glass and kicking ass in the Super Bowl. There were some plays where you needed him. You needed exactly what he is.
I say, like, the whole concept.
Stick his head in there.
Literally, the reason you drafted Leo Chenal was for what he did in the Super Bowl. Like,
you
use him as a Sam linebacker in base formation and just run downhill and the run.
He's a
and
battering
that's what
ram.
he did.
Yep.
He literally did exactly that against one of the best run teams in the league.
Look, I don't know. Miles Sanders got hit on that initial play and fumbled. And I think right then everybody in that Philly backfield went, oh, these boys, because that whole first drive, the defense was just leveling people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It started with a rookie. It started with Trent McDuffie coming out.
Yeah.
We forget because it's the first play of the game and so much happened afterwards. But Trent McDuffie leveled. I think it was Kenneth Gainwell. Just absolutely.
Miles Sanders.
Was it Sanders? It looked like that hit.
I thought Devontae Smith got a huge shot too.
That was just Reed that blew.
That was later on.
Yeah, that.
But McDuffie, first play of the Eagle snap, lights the dude up. It looked like that play from Reggie Bush. Welcome to the NFL from 2006.
Yeah.
Like it was textbook. They played with physicality. Trent McDuffie, who missed a big part of the season with an injury, 682 snaps in coverage. Jalen Watson, 605. Brian Cook, 342. Joshua Williams, 437. Those both, Cook and Williams both made it over 600 snaps on special teams, which, again, we talk about the special teams issues. One of the things that we didn't really factor in with Tobe is he had a lot of rookies.
Who's beating up? I spammed that button on this podcast.
All three of us, I think. I think all three of us said no.
I'm still, there were just really, like, the one guy who didn't do, like, Najee Johnson had 100 steps on special teams, and he was kind of up and down, and, like, he was the last pick that they made. Like
230, whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, so Sky Moore, let's see where he was at. He came in at 313 snaps and 31 on special teams, so he wasn't, like, technically he was our least productive or least snapped rookie, if you don't count Najee Johnson, and he was somebody.
Well,
But
also
again, he
Darian
made that
Kinnard, right?
huge plays. Oh yeah, I guess Darren Kennard. I forgot
Yeah,
that he exists.
he was like actually a true like reserve guard prospect.
He's your like 7th or 8th offensive lineman.
Yeah, like he was actually like a reserve
And he's a
project this
developmental
season,
guy.
unlike everybody else.
Yeah, and we knew
Only
that.
guy you
We
didn't
talked
need
about that with
immediate
Kennard when they
contribution from. Yeah.
Yeah. So I say all that to say, you had rookies playing. I mean, McDuffie probably would have played way more snaps had he not had the injuries. He's at almost 60% of all the snaps. Watson was at 52%. Williams was at 38%. Like, these guys didn't leave the field, right? Especially after Fenton was gone. And it's such a testament to not just Veach for finding these guys, but Spagnuolo for bringing them along. And we talked about early in the season, there were some bumps with that secondary, but man, did they catch
Dave
on?
Merritt.
We said it. Yeah, Dave Merritt, like they weren't rookies by the time they got there anymore. And just hats off to
they
that.
knew it. That's
that
the biggest key. They were saying that. They knew that rookie doesn't count when you hit the postseason. You're not a rookie anymore.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and I think this group is going to be special, man, long term. I know Trent McDuffie talked about it the week of the Super Bowl. That class, the defensive backs, the Watson, Cook, McDuffie, Williams, and Johnson, they were during the draft, like shortly after draft, they were talking about, being the Fab Five, comparing themselves to the old Detroit Pistons. And I think Leo Chenal was talking about getting them there, and they had like a
University of Michigan, baby.
Yeah, they had like I'm sorry, I don't know baseball. But they had like the rookie study group, and that kind of thing. Like, this is a group that really took it to heart. We saw George Karlaftis, working with Frank Clark, during training camp.
Home run swing.
And what was that home run swing?
It's like Chris Webber had a mean home run swing.
Probably, I'm sure.
Probably. I mean, he probably did.
It sounds like somebody who played for like the
real.
Minnesota Twins. I don't. Is that a thing still?
Yeah.
Anyways,
Aren't they a thing? Yeah.
So I just really think that you have a core group of guys here who, if they can keep that nucleus. By the way, secondary players, they get expensive, and when you have young guys on contracts like that, you are in a really good position to build your roster out. Not that we're allowed to talk about things like the draft in the offseason yet, but again, going back to my take, Brett Veach, I don't know what GM you want in the NFL over him right now. I can't think of
somebody. I don't either. You know what else I don't think I would take anyone else over? I would not take another running back in the league over Isaiah Pacheco.
And that's the rookie we didn't even talk about.
Yeah, that is the one. That is one other rookie that absolutely just killed it. I mean, not a huge game, but the run game, the runs that he had, all the stuff that was dialed up, tremendous performance by him. I mean,
two rookies.
Yeah, him and Jerick McKinnon were both hammering the rock all over the Eagles defense. It was
so
to cement Tom's point about Veach. 2 rookies scored touchdowns in the Super Bowl. One of them scored his first touchdown in the Super Bowl. Now, you, me, Garrett, Tom, my wife could have caught that touchdown pass and scored because Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid pulled their pants down on.
It's just not fair.
Corn dogs, man. You can't have just one. Can't have just one of Big Red's corn dogs, baby.
Up wrong for Skies. It's even
that was hilarious.
So
and
anyway,
what's even more ridiculous is Mahomes afterwards saying like, "Oh yeah, I saw that we were lined up wrong," and I was just like, "You know what? Let's just do it."
Pointed and he's like, "He's over there," and he's like,
and he looks. He's like, "All right, I guess let's just try it." And then it just works perfectly still. Like, crazy to think about on the biggest stage. A play is lined up wrong like that, and just like, nothing. It's nothing for him.
They do so much of the improvisational move around, figure it out on the fly stuff that this stuff is natural to them as an offense.
Yeah, and what a key that they picked up. I mean, from on those 2 plays, obviously 2 game-changing touchdowns that were just walk-ins. Like, that's a lot of film, and that's a lot of study time from the whole offensive staff.
I thought
Andy,
the first one
EB.
was just Kadarius Toney being a freak athlete and making somebody like fall and look stupid when he put his foot in the ground and cut back on that motion. And then Sky did it, and he was more open than Kadarius was. And I was like,
I mean, there's actually a picture, a very far away picture of Sky Moore walking into the end zone with actually nobody around him. Like, at least 30 yards around him.
It says, this is a touchdown in the Super Bowl against the #1 defense in the league.
Sky Moore looked like in that touchdown, it looked like me when I show up at the club, and there's just nobody around.
No one around. A big gaping hole right there.
Yeah. That's
but
what
so just crazy play call right there. I mean, there wasn't a couple
into all of this over multiple episodes. We'll break down different portions of the game, but as far as this episode, we kind of want to keep it general and just go through the game as a whole. For you guys, and Garrett, I want you to go first. Which play in this game, and there were a lot of them because the score was, as we know, 38-35, was the play that I think what I'm looking for is the play that you enjoyed most, not necessarily the one that was the biggest impact or necessarily the biggest like the turning point necessarily, but just the biggest play that you enjoyed the most that you had fun with in the game.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to choose from, and we've already talked about a lot of them. I think honestly, one of the more enjoyable ones, maybe a little underrated, Mahomes' 26-some yard scramble near the end there, where he just takes off, and it's like, oh my God, he's running. This is huge. Like it had like 2019 AFC Championship Titans run. It had like a vibe to that where it's like, oh my God, he's going. Like he's still going. Absolutely huge chunk play, and just another reminder, like Mahomes is so dangerous with his legs. It's something that no one ever talks about except for us. It feels like how
I'm glad
huge of a part of that.
I'm so glad that that's the one you brought up, because Tom said something about Patrick earlier when he was talking about he's just so this and that. You get to see quarterbacks all over the earth with tons of talent and tons of ability. Most of the guys that make it to the NFL, even the ones that suck, are stupid freaking talented. Do you know the difference between most of them? What you watched on Sunday. That guy, first of all, Tom was talking about high ankle sprains earlier. For those of you who have never experienced that, don't try to experience it. Don't wish to experience it. Don't even dream about experiencing it. It's one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever done in my life, and I dislocated my kneecap entirely. I've broken all kinds of bones, and I have medical conditions. It's one of the most uncomfortable and ridiculously long, nagging, frustrating injuries to deal with. The amount of toughness and the amount of just, doing it anyway, to get it re-rolled right before halftime, and then to go out and do what he did. Tom said it. He was head down on Rick Burkholder's shoulder on the sideline, crying in agony on his way to the sideline. To run that 26 yards, to do the other running scramble drills he did all game long. The amount of gut, and that's why he's different. That's why he's the leader. That's why he's special. That's why his dad is telling him post-game, I've never seen anything like you. You're different. His dad's not telling him, love you, congratulations. It's, oh my God, you're an alien, and I'm your father.
Right?
Like, that
Mahomes
level of
baseball.
That dude is, you can't. So, Tom, your play and your stuff, unless you want to expand on that a little more.
No, I mean, like, one of the things that we talked about with Pat Mahomes Sr. and, like, even with just Patrick being, like, raised, like, he was in those major league, like, locker rooms, and
Alex Rodriguez.
Yeah, he was around some, so he's like, you're built. I mean, for him to say that, he's not just saying that in the sense of, like, as a football player. I agree. Like, I hate to just be like, oh yeah, that was a play. But for me, I've watched, I think we've all could say pretty confidently we've watched just about every snap of Patrick Mahomes' career. I've seen him run and take off plenty of times. That you could tell that hurt. You could tell.
Oh yeah.
Like, it was just like,
no limp.
You want to talk about
putting my foot in the ground and going no limp. Screw you. That's what that was.
Yeah, you want to talk about over my dead body? I mean,
teeth.
we're talking like this man's like, you're gonna have to cut his legs off to get him.
Y'all thought he was
stop.
mad the first time when he first injured it and they wanted him to go get an x-ray and they tried to keep him out of the game?
Yeah.
They'd have had to shoot him to keep him out of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean that sincerely in like the, you know, it's like that's that maniacal competitiveness that defines the best athletes, right? I don't remember if this was during the broadcast, if this was another time, but they talked about you know, the Jordan flu game, and this is going to be up there. And I think this is, and I think that right now, like, we have such a reactionary like sports fan base, and everybody wants to complain about, you know, this and that, and you know, I don't even want to touch the ref stuff because it's been dissected enough, and it's just not, you know, not it.
If
But,
you
like,
think Carl Shepard's bringing the Chiefs, you're insane. Go away.
Yeah, I was saying, yeah. If you want, listen, if you want me to sit here and defend
We're
we're gonna be in agreement. But like,
oh yeah, he sucks. We know.
We are very aware. Yeah.
Yep. Scout has come to voice his displeasure of.
He heard ref talking, had to come shout at it.
What's up? How do you feel about Carl Sheffer, Scout? Do you have any thoughts? No.
First time ever.
Yeah, first time ever. He says, "Let me in here." No, but sincerely, like, we're gonna look back at this historically and go, "Holy cow! What?" And we've said this several times this season. Enjoy it, guys. Enjoy it. Don't get caught up in all the Twitter arguments and all the people who are bitter losers and all that stuff. Man, enjoy this special,
the greatness.
You know, once in a lifetime, probably once in an ever talent that is Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, this is once in an ever. Look, Gretzky, Tiger, MJ, LeBron, whichever version of the NBA you want to argue. Insert your GOAT in your sport. Insert your best talented and not most accomplished. Everybody take a deep breath. Tom is very, very accomplished and was a very great quarterback. That's all fine.
That's a good, yeah.
He's literally doing things we've never seen. And he's doing them in ways that we've never seen them done. The Tom stuff is all a great conversation. Tom also had a fantastic organization and a Hall of Fame head coach too, except he was on the other side of the ball, so it looks different. Look, guys, appreciate what you have because Andy and Patrick are in that conversation with Bill and Tom, whether anybody wants to like it or not. It's just a fact. God, the only thing I'll add to Mahomes is, are you joking? You're not a human. He came out and said, and I quote, "I did not take any pain-killing injections." And frankly, kiss my what? Look, y'all, I go back to, if you've never had that injury and don't know what that feels like, the second that I saw them re-roll it, I was like, man, it's a good thing halftime's 30 minutes. They got time to get that shot in there early, let that thing set in and take advantage. Get it ready to go for halftime and get him loose? No. I don't know how many Tylenol he took, but he didn't take an injection according to him. And he was, and I'm telling you, he was specific with his wording when he answered that question for a reason.
Yeah.
But all the crap and all the stuff that him and
oh man, Kyle got expected.
Him and Bobby and Rick and what they do to keep these guys. Because it's not just Patrick at this point. You can see his impact. You remember when Tom had, what was that facility with TB12 Industries or Institute with his trainer and whatnot?
Yeah.
And how a lot of the Patriots guys worked out there. Have you guys happened to notice the amount of Chiefs players that work out with Bobby and them now?
It's growing.
George, Bobby Witt Jr., you know, from the Royals, crosstown, Patrick, like, I wouldn't mind seeing Kadarius Toney spend some time with Bobby to make sure that those hamstrings stay a little more pliable and friendly to him going forward. Like, guys, Andy, Pat, this setup, what they've done, you got to start giving Clark Hunt respect too, because we can give all the credit to Andy and them all we want. This works because he went and found the people and he's willing to write the checks.
Yeah, legit. He really is. He's the whole, I mean, the whole Chiefs operation, it's something that you can't easily replicate. Like, I think it's been a talking point, especially with the draft coming up. All the talking points about how you can emulate what the Chiefs have done, and you just really can't. Like, you can't just draft a first-round quarterback sit him for a year and then have the best player in the game. There's a lot more to it than
Sit
that.
him for a year while you make a playoff run with the guy who's mentoring him, and then send that guy off into what should have been a sunset and turned out to be a nightmare.
Yeah, it's a very unique situation that the Chiefs got, and yeah, it starts from the top, works all the way to the bottom. So, Kyle or Tom, I guess Tom, you didn't say your favorite play, Tom.
Yeah, he did. He stole yours.
Yeah,
you can't have the same one as me.
I gotta steal yours.
You want me to
I don't have this documented because I was
Nick Bolton.
Oh, Nick Bolton. That was
I
beautiful.
live bet Super Bowl MVP for Nick Bolton.
I'm gonna say this: if we want to talk ref crap, the text message that I got from everybody that's been watching the sport for 25 years or more, that's a catch from everything we've ever known. So we can talk refs and stuff all day long. But Nick Bolton, not only does he make the read and force Jalen Hurts to drop the football, not only does he discard Jalen Hurts like he's not there, because let's be real, Jalen Hurts is not a small human. And then he
600 pounds.
Yeah. He proceeds to scoop and score comfortably a touchdown, and then do it again on making another perfect play in a spot where we've killed him. Everybody's killed him. He's not a coverage linebacker. Well, guess what he was in this game? He was an everything linebacker. So
Nick Bolton was everywhere.
And the recovery for me is that play.
Yeah, this is going to be bad, and I'm sorry to do this. I'm just going to apologize in advance, but I can't not be honest because I watched that play, and my exact thoughts were Zach Eisen's probably in shambles right now. Sorry, Zach, love you, bro, but that was my exact thought. Especially after the second one, I was like, "Oh no, Zach's gonna have to leave Twitter."
The second one was really.
I knew they were going to be absolutely on fire.
Yeah. Sorry, Zach. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah. Also, I will have to say, on the record, I don't think that second one was a catch. I mean, if it was called, if it was
grew up watching, that's a catch.
If it was called a catch on the field, I think it could have been enough to reverse it, but.
No, it was called a catch on the field.
It was called a catch on the field. They
It was a catch, a scoop, and a score. That's where I also was questionable. I
was a little sus on it. I didn't hate the call, but yeah, it was. It was one where I would have very much expected the Chiefs to not get that call. So
I don't think they're going to call it a catch in this era, but for 50 years, that's a catch.
I was even accounting for like the adjustment, like the football move stuff, because we've been burned by that before. I thought, to me, when he turns his body upfield, that's a move for me.
He had 2 feet.
I also
understand. Upfield, he has possession and he gets rocked.
I think it's one of those. I know, like time of possession isn't really considered a factor into that, but if you slowing it down, it makes it look a lot more like a catch. I think live action, it was very
ultra slow mo.
Yeah, like I think in the very split second that he had the ball, I think he did all the things to institute a catch, but it was also just a very short amount of time.
That was a good hit. Okay,
it was a very well played.
My favorite play.
Yes.
To circle back, not to cut you guys off, but we are closing on that dangerous 1 hour mark. So
we knew this one was going to be long.
I didn't document this during because I try to stay off Twitter, especially during big games. Like I said, I was with my family. I've said this before on this podcast. I'm such a big Kadarius Toney fan, and the health is obviously a key part. But I think it wouldn't surprise me if Kadarius Toney was wide receiver 1 going into the season next year. But watching him,
special to him.
Yeah, I've got some.
As in, like one, like they used to use 10 kind of one.
I am the one.
Not how they used to use 10, but
no, I don't mean. Let me rephrase that. Not in a specific manner, in a usage related,
in a quantity
conversation.
I think Patrick wants to. I think Toney has bought in. I think you're going to have an off season with Patrick. I think they're going to be on the same team. Listen, here's your fantasy football spoiler for 2024. Find Kadarius Toney in the middle rounds of your draft and take him.
I picked him up in Dynasty for kibbles and bits because they didn't think he was squat with the Giants.
Exactly. So it's all about health for him, but I think an off season with Mahomes, he's fit into that locker room really well. And I think that Mahomes wants to look for him. But I just think his second half as a whole, for me as somebody who's a fan of him as an athlete, I remember just telling him like, man, In fact, I did. I was texting a friend, and I kept telling him, like, we need more Kadarius Toney. We need more Kadarius Toney. And because the first half, he was like, I think he just fielded like 2 punts, and then we finally got him involved. I mean, obviously the punt return was big, and then the touchdown catch and that motion and stuff. Corn Dog was huge. But man, what a special day for Kadarius to go from a team that, just for whatever reason that didn't work out.
Joe Judge, we can narrow that down. We can root.
Well, and I'll say this, we talk about character concerns and all that stuff, and it's not.
Sometimes the character concerns are in the coaching staff and in the front office, not in the locker room.
I think in this instance it's just Kadarius is his own dude, right? He's got some interest outside of football and stuff. Like, he's not. Some of those old school coaches are gonna like struggle.
Unique, man. They're all different. They all have personalities. This isn't 1975.
Yeah, I think one of Andy Reid's biggest strengths. You talk about him as a player. He lets players be players. He lets them be themselves, and he let Kadarius do that.
When you have Travis Kelce,
all of them, and that's not. And Andy gives that to everybody, though. Andy, what you're talking about,
and he needed that.
What you're talking about, it works not because the coach says to do that, but his Patrick, Travis, Chris, Frank, the leadership in that locker room, they're all allowed to be themselves, and they let other guys know that it's okay to be themselves. Now, their rules, their structure, don't do dumb things. Don't say stupid crap before games to the media. Don't do this. But
we even broke that a little bit. It was still okay, though. It still ended up being a little bit okay in the end. But, yeah, I mean, we are one of the best teams in the league in accommodating outside personalities like that. I mean,
talk about Sean McVay and
all these young head coaches.
Coach here. And he's been doing it for 30 years, guys.
Yeah, I mean, we got
Andy Reid managed
Terrell Owens
for a minute.
Exactly,
he
Terrell Owens.
Like peak Terrell Owens, and nobody got murdered.
Like, you can't insane on a full-on heater Terrell Owens in the middle of his career.
After he's dealt with Terrell Owens, I mean, you can't get much worse than that. Anything after that is cakewalk, basically, for Andy Reid.
Don't do that, because Terrell's not a bad dude.
No,
Terrell's
not bad.
Dude.
Not bad as in.
A lot of distractions.
Yeah, it's just that's a lot to handle, and you need the right coach who's been there before to handle that, and Andy Reid is that guy. So, yeah, Kyle, favorite play here.
I told you, Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton, humble, scoop score, baby. It's hey man, all year long we talked about it in freaking training camp. Anthony Hitchens is gone. All of the depth at linebacker, all of the old guys at linebacker. No more Ben Neiman, no more Anthony Hitchens, no more Reggie Ragland. None of those guys exist. You have Nick Bolton is the senior. It's Nick and Willie are the leader, senior linebackers in that locker room. And he's the green dot. It's all on him. And that Super Bowl required him to play at the level he played, and he answered the bell.
Phenomenally. He really had a huge game.
They gave up 35 points and all that. That defense played their ass off. They were incredible. They took Philadelphia and their rugby scrum fourth down BS.
Okay, I'm glad you finally mentioned it. If the Eagles didn't have that play, let's be real. If the Eagles did not know what that play was,
21 points.
We would have absolutely slaughtered them. So like all these people saying Jalen Hurts had this historic game. He did. He had a good game.
Excellent. He did.
But
on this podcast, if they make him throw, I don't know that they can win this game. And he threw for 300 yards.
Jalen Hurts had a great game, and the Eagles had a great game. But if they don't have that play, the game looks significantly different. They stand no shot basically. So that play, pretty stupid play, I think.
I think it's funny that the NFL is going to look at one finally in our favor, since every time we've ever brought something up, it gets thrown out.
Yeah, I actually don't think it should be banned. I just think it's dumb.
I think if you're going to, I think it should be like and do the pushing thing. I just don't think you can line up with 3 guys behind your quarterback and just straight shove him across the line of scrimmage.
I think that's going to be the biggest part of it, and it's not necessarily. And this conversation, for the record, this conversation was happening before the Super Bowl. But it's similar to why you can't do things like that on field goal blocks. It's a player safety thing, because one of those plays, Jalen Hurts got the first down while he wasn't even he was literally like pretty much somebody picked him up and
In the
threw
air.
him
Yeah,
over
he
the
was
pile.
not on the
Holman had
ground.
his hand on his forehead. Jalen Hurts' whole body is off the ground. He's turned
Yeah.
completely sideways, and he ends up across the first down line.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I
when
can
you're
actually
in
see that being a
positions-
player safety
Yeah,
thing.
when you're in
Maybe,
positions like that where you don't have your feet on it, like you talk about one of the things you coach at early ages
Keep your feet
is
under
keep your
you.
feet, keep your base as square as you can, that type of thing.
Terrified
If you don't
when
have that,
Chris
yeah, if you
jumped
don't
to try
have
to
that,
catch him in the air.
you're compromising a lot of that because what's going to happen is you're going to have more of those aerial collisions, and they look cool sometimes, but man, those are pretty sketchy because you're not in control.
Well,
You know,
that's what happened. That's what terrified me when Chris tried to jump and counteract that and caught him in midair. Chris's feet are completely up. They're both riding on the
they're
pile.
both up in the air.
and at that point, you're not in control of yourself. You have other grown men who are pushing and pulling on you, and you're not all of them are on your team. Like it's just a recipe for. And I don't.
Go ahead,
listen,
ban it.
I agree with that in that sense from safety. I don't want to take away from what Jalen Hurts did. He had a phenomenal game. I mean, just even when that offense was struggling,
and he ran over 2 linebackers to get in.
That was phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Jalen Hurts, brother, you deserve all the credit in the world. I don't want to take a damn thing away from you. Hell of a performance.
You win the MVP if you win the game, bud. You don't want to go MVP with your eyes closed if you win that game.
Man, I think that we both quarterbacks did. And it's kind of ironic in some ways because you would almost expect going into it, you'd almost have expected those stat lines to be flipped.
Right?
Like,
I literally
definitely,
100%. The only thing I missed from my in-game betting on the entire game was I flipped Mahomes and Hurts' overs and unders on their passing yardage. That was it.
Yeah. Yep. So I really think that it was just a phenomenal game from both guys. And at the end of the day, hats off to Philadelphia. I still love, there's so many players on the team. I love the way they play football.
Yeah.
We were blessed as football fans because I think these were the 2 best football teams this season. I think Philly really was the class of the NFC. So,
that's the best team out of the NFC.
And it's just
that conversation's over.
Yeah, respect for Nick Sirianni, all that stuff, man. From the organization, I said earlier, like, who would I want other than Brett Veach? Like, Howie Roseman's number 2 on that list for me.
He's pretty good too. He is pretty good.
They're in a good position. But man, and all that to say, just to circle back to how special Patrick Mahomes is to be able to take on the best of the best
over my dead body,
pull it out.
So let's do this because we're getting ready to get out of here. I want to do 2 things. The thing you guys have enjoyed the most since winning this one, as far as celebrations or what you've got to do or gear or whatever it is or stuff you've seen, whatnot. But I do want to do this, and I want to take a couple minutes. One, I want to shout out. We talked about the respect we have for Philadelphia. I think it's fantastic that Chiefs Kingdom also shares that respect because we would be remiss to not spend a couple of moments to talk about, if you have not yet and you are a member of Chiefs Kingdom and you have the opportunity to or can do it financially by the means, go over to Travis and Jason's either New Heights show, Jason's Twitter, wherever. Go find his Be Philly campaign and donate $14.90 to it like Chiefs Kingdom has. This fan base has raised over $100,000 for Jason's charity. It's an awesome thing. We love the Kelsey family. Obviously, it was awesome to see Donna get to have her moment in the sun. She couldn't have. There's not a family right now that I think probably deserves more than what they're getting at this moment as far as flowers are concerned. Donna's been incredible throughout the entire thing. Ed, Dad, Kelsey has been great too. It's just been a great, fun thing to watch. But what's come out of it, and the good that hopefully that money can do in that area and in Philly, and with that charity is awesome. And I just want to again tell Jason and everybody how much we respect them, but also shout out Chiefs Kingdom for doing what we know that this fan base is very much capable of, which is being that good down home Midwestern fan base. Even if we're spread all over the globe, all over the coasts, the mentality is the same, and we love to take care of and show respect to our others. So shout out to the Kingdom for showing out and stepping up and doing that for Jason and for Philadelphia after the fact, being good sports in it.
Yeah, definitely shout out to Philadelphia. That a lot of respect both the week before and the week after. Really, it was the kind of the week after celebration, a lot less geared towards Philadelphia and more towards like Bengals fans, a little bit of Bills fans, and just kind of well, the rest
National
of the
media!
AFC West, national media, all that stuff. Definitely like pulling all the receipts and just yeah, it's funny the kind of the narrative that's had taken place where it's like everyone was confused why the Chiefs thought they were underdogs, and it's like, oh, you guys I guess are stupid. You guys haven't been paying attention
So,
because
this
here's
goes to the
100
Patriots
million
thing.
receipts.
This goes to the Patriots thing.
Yeah,
Remember how we used to always be like, where do you guys imagine all this slights from? And Julian Edelman's making Wes Welker's making T-shirts about underdogs, and what is all this crap? Guys, this is it.
We are here. We are the Patriots.
Bart Scott and Derek Carr's brother and the 7 other talking heads that give you your fuel. Guess what? The players use it because they've talked about it. They use it. We know. That's fine. They have to at this point. You have to manufacture motivation from anywhere. This is another part of being a dynasty. This is another part of being this team. They're the hunted. We've talked about this for several years now. Everybody wanted to pretend like the hunted changed. It didn't. It's still the hunted. The Bengals wanted to talk about being the big dog, but they don't won one game and when it matters. So let's everybody remember
next game, so it's kind of
where
crazy,
it runs. So again, the celebration stuff has been great because the after stuff has been fun. But for me and Garrett, what's your big moment though of your celebration afterwards? What's been the most fun celebration? I know it's different. It's hard because you're out way separated from.
I know. I wish I was at the parade. The parade, honestly, I partied pretty hard just for the parade, just watching at home. I was watching.
Which coverage did you watch? There was
I watched
47 options.
41. I forget what
KSHB 41.
KSHB 41. Yeah, that's who I watched, and I was cracking up some cold ones and having
shout
a
out
great time.
to Mick Schaefer and Aaron Ladd and
yeah, they had some great coverage of the parade, very comprehensive. And to be honest, I want to get your opinion because how that parade seemed pretty. I mean, the parade seemed pretty electric.
I was gonna save mine for the end because I want Tom to share his.
I know, but the parade. I wish I was there because that seemed like a great time. That parade was.
I'll get
phenomenal.
We'll talk about the parade.
Tom, what's your favorite celebration moment?
It's got to be the receipts, the narrative that when people were like, and gosh, I'm trying to remember who it was. Maybe it was.
Go ahead. You can say it. I'll tell you.
Nobody was doubting the Chiefs, and just that whole Twitter thread. Was that who? Which one was that? I don't remember which.
Are you referring to the blue check mark one that did it, or are you referring to the random?
A blue check mark.
That would be Jason McIntyre that then proceeded to, after he went on Colin Cowherd's show and asked to be shown receipts where everybody doubted the Chiefs, and then our friend Lance and several other folks presented them with about 8,000 video clips worth of evidence. He then proceeded to go on the same pathway as our friend over at Last Chance U Dropout and block all of as many of the Chiefs fans as he could possibly get his fingertips on, because we are in fact Charmin soft.
All right. I'm gonna. This is.
Yeah, do it.
I'm gonna call a timeout. And I'm not. You guys know I'm not somebody who goes after people, right? Even earlier, like
if you do what I think you're about to do, grab the flamethrower and I'll hold the gas tank.
That former JUCO coach, who I will not name,
coach is
who does not. Yes.
Actually,
if you would prefer to be more accurate, more recently, the more recent title he's held is felon. In case you weren't aware.
Valid.
8 of them. I think.
Listen,
a lot of them.
I try to be level-headed, and I will say this: I think that there were some good intentions. I'm sure that he had good relationship. Whatever. The dude is slimy. The dude is. He is riding off.
Kicked him off of Last Chance U.
He is clinging, and I listen. He was like, I was almost tempted to be like, I'll jump on your pod. I don't want to give him. I don't want to give him the attention because it's all it is he just wants the drama. Yep. It's literally the definition of don't feed a troll. And if there's anybody in the whole world that has been a more obvious troll, just look at him. Look at him. He thinks that if he can yell louder or bully you,
hashtag that I've kept going. He is that. He's literally that.
He is he just thinks that he can yell louder and he can whatever. And here's my last question, because I've listened to some of his takes because I wanted to okay, listen, this is a guy who I will admit openly probably knows more about football than me, probably knows more about X and O's than me. But let me say this: every coach will tell you. Every coach will tell you his criticisms. Oh, Mahomes is slow on this. Mahomes is. Whether or not those are accurate, there's one thing in sports that matters. Scoreboard, bitch. And if you look at the scoreboard, he's got 2 rings. How many rings do you got?
2.
How long
You
did you
got
even
2
play
of
in the
them.
NFL? Why are you even
1,
going to
2.
do this, man? Can you not just
Yeah.
suck at the heat of relevancy by trying to badmouth a player who's on a historic path, and just because you're local to the area, you can get some, or you were local to the area before they bounce your ass out of here for being a
Scum,
just crude, inappropriate,
racist.
Yeah, racist, like felon. Like before
Felon.
you really like
He
just get him
told,
on, man.
he
Like I
told
just
a German kid he was going to be his new Hitler. That's not me
just
saying that. He said that.
yeah. And then he tried to cover it all up. He tried to blackmail people. Like the dude is just a scumbag, and you're like, I don't interact. I don't. And here I go on this tirade because I'm so just annoyed at the fact that we are giving him any time. Let
And
it die.
goes back
Let
Continue to give
it
time.
die. Let him be
Yeah.
an angry, bitter, loud troll. He can yell into his overpriced cigars, smoke in his underwear in his room, and just let him die and irrelevancy where he belongs. Stop feeding that troll. Listen, we can harass all the other trolls all we want, but please, Chiefs Kingdom, I am begging you, stop feeding that troll. He's had enough.
Let the thumb from Spy Kids continue yelling into his camera, and the only outlet that gives him any run is the only other one that all of Chiefs Kingdom knows to just simply ignore. Ignore DP and Stule Sporte and all of the other acronyms that I'm going to use to not name that trash can of an organization either.
Stule Sports, yeah.
Ignore them and ignore him, and a lot of things will go much, much smoother, because they don't mean, neither one of those entities, one entity that allows that individual occasionally on its airwaves, neither one of them, I mean, they're bringing up articles from 2 years ago to try to target Jackson and Brittany, okay? We know what they are. Not only is he a troll, but the organization giving him room to make his loud, blasphemous dumbassness a statement, are they trolls? Why? New England. Pay attention. It's not.
Yeah, I will say I've been ignoring almost all of this, and I've been having a great time. I think the great thing that Chiefs Kingdom, Chiefs Kingdom can kind of fall back on is the fact that anything that they say doesn't matter because we have 2 Super Bowl rings. So
yeah,
that's pretty much all you got.
Who has
scoreboard.
Like Tom said, it's literally just scoreboard. Like you shouldn't. Anyone, obviously, you should kind of have some self-awareness. Anyone who is hating on the Chiefs at this current state is just mad. And
we have to give Josh, we're gonna have Mr. Briscoe back on the show. I need to do a check-in to see where the feelings are for Mr. Aikman and the 33-66-99.
The percentage of Troy Aikman's rings is growing. Kyle, tell us about the Super Bowl parade.
The parade was really, really cool. It was chilly, but it was not 2019 chili, 2020 chili, guys. It was surprisingly decent. I will say this going forward, because I'm gonna go ahead and say there's gonna be another one of the two of these going forward. Get there early, and also pick where you want to be. Don't try to hit the parade route and then make your way to Union Station. 2 years ago, you probably could have swung that. 3 years ago, you probably could have swung that because it was pretty cold and there was only about 500,000 people out there. Look, man, this year, Union Station was a circus. There wasn't an ounce of real estate that didn't have a butt or a foot on it. I'm not, and you guys don't understand. When you're standing there and you look around the way it's laid out, there's a hotel here that has like private access. I don't think there was a person that was staying at that hotel that wasn't sitting on one of the stones or the tables or the bricks and I'm not talking about like normal sitting areas. It's a wall. It's a stone ledge wall that these people are just sitting on.
Yeah, I saw that on the broadcast.
The people, you could, far as the eye could see, we were standing about halfway up in the middle of Union Station because we did the parade route first and then went over. Shout out to Country for being the tour guide from Kingdom Cast. His lovely wife and their kiddos and relatives. We've met up with them and he showed us the best parking area to not have to walk 800 miles. There's some places, shuttle to it if you need to, because we parked basically where the shuttle drops off. It was great. go to Union Station would be my suggestion, and get there at about, well, some people were there the night before. I don't know if you need to get there quite that early. 6 a.m., 7 a.m., get there, bring a few chairs, grab a seat. This year they had Tech 9, they had performances, DJ, there was all kinds of stuff. All the local area food places were out, the food trucks were out. There was about 50,000 pieces of unlicensed merchandise you could purchase. There was surplus 2022 gear. Man, it was just a party. It was a party from literally a mile and a half and over 1 million. It was easily over 1 million. You can tell me what the estimate. I was standing in the mass of humanity. There was 1 million people there. You could just turn around and tell. The speeches, look, I really love that Andy and this organization are very specific about kind of who they let talk and this and that. At that point in the year, we like Mark Donovan. We love Brett Veach. We governors and city officials. That's
Do
great.
we need the governor though?
Well, one of them probably not, but that's beside the point. That's all fine, and they all need, a minute or two. And this is one thing that I would say for all of those folks. Watch Andy Reid. Listen to what that man said, because do you know what his speech was? His speech was 35 seconds.
Short and sweet.
I'm better. They're better at this than I am, so I'm going to give them the mic.
Yeah.
Okay. Once that happens, though, give them the mic. I don't care if it's 45 minutes of uncensored craziness. They've earned that at this point. When you go to a Super Bowl parade that there's a chance, or a championship parade of any variety, there's a chance that there might be some explicit content. Guess what?
Pretty good chance.
And for all of you idiots that wrote into a certain newspaper that posted that article, all 4 of you
don't feed those trolls either.
Pillowcase.
Don't feed those trolls either.
We're really good at feeding the trolls.
So,
we're not supposed to feed.
Take that advice. Go to the parade. Enjoy the parade, and I hope that the organization allows, like Chris Jones should automatically have a microphone in his hand.
Yeah,
I know,
sneak in at the end.
He's crazy and volatile, and he may say some crazy stuff. Guess what? They all do. Frank Clark, dude's a walking soundbite. You let James Palmer interview him on national TV 4 seconds after they won the game. What's 2 weeks later on a Super Bowl parade matter? Who cares? I know. Let these guys talk, man. These fans, the fans that are there. And I'll give credit. Sports Radio 810 talked about this a little bit afterwards. I only heard a portion of it. I don't know how much of this they covered. The fan base is there to see the players, to listen to these guys, to relish in them, to feed off that emotion. They could walk up there and yell a bunch of literal gibberish, and nobody would care. They would be screaming right along with them. So let the fans that show up in droves in a city that, I mean, hell, half the city was there. Basically, if you go by population count,
maybe
it
half
did a 90 share on
states.
TV in the market. It did a 90 share. That's insane, by the way. If you guys don't know what those numbers mean, go look them up. That doesn't happen. Like, guys.
Yeah, pretty unreal.
It's such an experience.
It's a good time.
If you haven't got to go to a parade, go to it.
That's what I was just about to say. I need to get out there next time.
Go to the parade.
There will be a next time. So me and Tom are both getting out there next time. Ain't that right, Tom?
I tried to get Tom to go with me this year, but he was busy being responsible.
100%. Once I stopped hating most of humanity.
So with that, we've pretty much hit a lot of the main points of the Super Bowl. To close it out, it was a very good Super Bowl. It is great to be champions, and we are now champions all the way until the next Super Bowl. We are the reigning defending champs. We have that title all the way until next February.
2 belts.
2 rings. Yep, big old WWE belt. And yeah, watching the guys on the parade, especially Pat, get very, very drunk. That was a good time.
He gets that dude. Look, whatever he wants.
They're having a good
whenever
time.
He wants.
I liked it.
However he wants. He runs Kansas City, and anybody that hasn't figured that out yet is confused.
Exactly. So with that being said, we do have one more point to talk on before we get out of here. It's a bit of a longer episode, but there is some news that happened immediately after the parade kind of ended. Eric Bieniemy, who you can call him a 2-time Super Bowl champion as well, also offensive coordinator for 5 straight AFC Championship appearances.
10 years in this organization.
Yeah, one of the most accomplished offensive coordinators in the league by his resume.
I don't even think you have to use one of. I would struggle for
Probably
you to
the
find
most.
another offensive coordinator with 2 Super Bowl wins in the at all.
I don't
let
think you're
alone
finding
the last
that.
5 years.
He has finally gotten a position, to say that, with the Washington Commanders to be their new offensive coordinator / assistant head coach. Obviously, there's reality land and there's where the real world is. In reality, or in Wonderland, I guess you could say, Eric Bieniemy should obviously be a head coach in the league already. He should have been one 2 years ago. He should have been one 3 years ago. He should have been one last year.
Horribly accurate way to put that.
He should have been. I mean, the hurdles that he has had to clear compared to everyone else, and I don't think it's a strange coincidence that those other candidates happen to be white and he does not. Yeah, the hurdles that he has unfairly had to clear his time here, insane.
Adam Gase got a second chance as a head coach before Bieniemy got a first one.
It's absolutely
Urban Meyer,
yeah,
who has a record of being sketchy.
He's basically John Gruden light.
Without getting too emotional here, we've talked about Eric Bieniemy, I think, a lot, and what he has meant to this organization and how he is deserving of a head coaching job. We've talked about it ad nauseum. It's been talked about a lot. I think this is a good opportunity for him, though, regardless of everything else. I know it's not the best. I know it's not the situation he should be in, but he gets to go over to the Commanders now with Ron Rivera, who is a defensive-minded head coach. So he's going to take over control of that offense, essentially, kind of just spread his wings, prove, something that he doesn't have to prove, he shouldn't have to prove, but he's going to have to do it anyways. Prove that he can kind of run an offense by himself. He's going to be a terrific add for that organization, an organization that is kind of in a rebuild, especially from a culture standpoint more than anything, I think. And Eric Bieniemy, over anything, as it's been kind of said over the years, is a huge culture guy. I mean, he's a leader of men. He is he's just a coach that you need to have in your building to help with the shift of culture. Joining up with Ron Rivera and the staff that he's kind of putting together and the things that they're doing in Washington, I think it's a good move for Washington. It's ridiculous. There's no kind of way around it. But I'm excited to see what he does. With obviously he's going from a Super Bowl caliber team to a team that their quarterback situation is a little sketchy right now. They got Sam Howell in the wings. He was like a 5th round pick, I think. So I think Eric Bieniemy is going to have a fantastic time in Washington. I think it's a great move. I think it's great that he at least can spread his wings and get another opportunity somewhere. What are you guys' thoughts?
Tom, you want to shoot this one first, or you want me to?
I think he said it all. I just, Eric, thank you for everything you did for this organization.
Very much.
Best of luck to you. Yeah, best of luck to you in Washington, and I mean that sincerely, because that's a spot to be in.
A very sincere, congratulations.
Good luck. Absolutely, best of luck. I hope he kills it. It all is tainted by the other reality of the situation, but
yeah,
I'm confident he'll prove his worth, and the league will have to look at themselves and live with that. So that's all I have to say.
I'm gonna try to keep this somewhat short. There's a list that anybody in anywhere can pull up of coaches who don't fit one of the 17 goalposts that have been moved for Eric Bieniemy, that have been given 1, 2, sometimes 3 chances at head coaching positions. And frankly and blatantly, it's bullshit. And there's not really any other way around it. The expectation difference, and you can miss me with any of the number of nonsensical talking points we have heard about this subject over the last several years. He doesn't call plays. Yeah, neither did Dan Campbell, John Harbaugh, and I can list about 15 other guys. Did Shane Steichen call offensive plays?
He did technically, but
yeah. Did Jonathan Gannon, who Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid just blew apart in the Super Bowl, did he call offensive plays?
Yeah.
Matter of fact, didn't that organization bring Vic Fangio, who's now a defensive coordinator for another organization, in to help with that organization? Anyway, the list gets longer and more absurd. And now Eric Bieniemy, which has a resume longer than any offensive coordinator in this league right now, by a mile, has to go to a franchise that is run by one of the biggest pieces of trash we have ever seen to fix a culture. So I'm going to do it like this. Well, let me tell you something. The bullshit that's going on in that organization will stop, because let me tell you this. The guy that they just brought in to be the offensive coordinator will put an end to that crap. The culture, paired with him and Ron Rivera, that will end the nonsense. I don't care whatever else takes place. You don't have to worry about what goes on in that building anymore, because those two gentlemen will have their hands and feet in every single thing that moves, because the guy that Eric Bieniemy has spent the last 10 years learning from has his hand in everything. His development from the guy who we all used to sit and listen to press conferences and go, he just doesn't seem like he just doesn't seem comfortable. He's a master at it. He handles it Andy-esque routinely. You don't get anything from him if he doesn't want you to. You don't get the competitive prick comment slip-ups anymore. You don't get the this and that. And so the interview conversations, that was BS to begin with. We'll be putting it blunt. Old white dudes aren't always comfortable with very loud people who don't always look like them.
Yep.
Who are very demonstrative and who are very open people and very steadfast in their thoughts and beliefs. It's a comfort thing. It's a problem in this league. It's a problem with not having more minority ownership in this league. This is all stuff we've known forever. This isn't news. So now a guy who should be a head coach, should have been a head coach multiple times, has to go prove himself and get a title upgrade and a pay rate. Miss me with both of those also.
Yeah.
Look, we all know why he hasn't been hired, and you can try the off the field. He had stuff in his past from 25 years ago, but there's head coaches with domestics, socials, DUIs, you name it, and they've had head coaching opportunities. So all of your excuses and all of your goalposts don't exist. What's taking place is absolutely crap for Eric Bieniemy. Now, all of that said, they better get him a fucking quarterback.
Yeah.
Because no offense to Sam Howell, but Jesus Lord.
Yeah.
And secondly, I hope EB and that offense goes over in the NFC and lights them on fire, because the defense in Washington is there. And if they get the quarterback figured out, that offense is ready to roll, and they are going to be a problem in the East.
Yeah, I'm going to be legitimately rooting for Washington this year. It's kind of a strange connection Washington and the
Set
Chiefs
proper
have.
expectations for EB. Do not expect the Chiefs offense
Oh, yeah.
from that Washington team, people.
Definitely
Don't
got to set the
do it to
expectations.
that man. He's been screwed enough times.
Yeah, but this is another time that we can kind of root for Washington. We had Alex Smith go over there, obviously, and it was kind of one of those things.
Stay out
Now
of
we
the
have
30-yard
EB.
line on the field, EB. Don't go anywhere
Exactly,
near the 30.
yeah. But, yeah, it's obviously not the greatest situations, but shout out EB for at least moving on. And obviously there will be some question marks internally for the Chiefs of all the positions to be filled. Matt Nagy is going to be the offensive coordinator more than likely.
Wait, we have to do interviews first.
You got to do an interview, of course. Maybe Cliff Kingsbury. Who knows? I'm just throwing it out. I'm just kidding. But Matt Nagy more than likely will get that offensive coordinator job. One of the assistant QB coaches will probably be the normal QB coach.
The way that man was dancing on stage, I feel like he might think he already knows he has a shot at that.
Yeah, exactly. So
job.
I think I think this will be.
Man.
EB is a huge loss for the Chiefs, but I think all parties are gonna move on and profit from this.
I don't worry about the Chiefs as much because Andy's proven, I don't know, 17 times.
Yeah.
Matt Nagy, Doug Peterson, insert coordinator, he's moved on. His coaching tree is untouched in this league. Like, it's over and over. All right, we gotta go because we're gonna keep doing this. We could do another 45 minutes to an hour. We didn't touch on Travis. We didn't touch on Chris. We didn't touch on Frank. We barely touched on any of that stuff, guys.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have shout episodes as we go and more stuff because there's a ton to break down with the Super Bowl. I haven't really run it by these two yet, but I feel like we may do a by position group or by unit breakdown of the Super Bowl and kind of look at it from an ultra perspective as we go through this. So, Garrett, you, sir, always get to lead us out of here. So I'm going to let you do that. My final thoughts are this team has 2 rings. They have the best quarterback in the sport. They have the best coach in the sport. And yes, I'm aware Bill Belichick exists. Look, enjoy what you have. Enjoy what we get to support and do. And I most of all enjoy the people you get to enjoy it with. So all I will say to this is thank you two for all of the effort, energy, work, because a lot of you guys don't realize how much stuff and how much time that goes into this stuff that we do. We do this stuff because we enjoy it, but we also do it for you guys. So we hope you appreciate it. But to you two specifically, thank you for everything for the last season. And cannot wait to what we're getting ready to roll out as we've got coming up because we've got a whole bunch on deck.
Yes, we do. Before we get out of here, of course, Tom, any final remarks, words?
Yes. As always, thanks for joining us. I waited an hour and 30 minutes. I've held myself, so I have to talk about it real quick.
Let it out.
This is a sponsor. He's right. He gets to do this.
This is approved. This weekend, February 26th, I am representing Chiefs Kingdom in the Walk the Mock draft. If you haven't checked out their website, I know there's a lot of different mock draft simulators. I was playing with it before the show started. I really enjoy it. They also have a feature where you can do an interactive mock, so you and your buddies can do a draft together, which I thought was really cool.
We'll be doing those.
Something we'll have to utilize this season. But anyways, I'm excited to represent the Chiefs Kingdom in the draft and the process there. So the draft is happening February 26th. If you go over to their Twitter @WalkTheMock, you can.
The mock draft is happening February 26th.
Mock draft is mock draft, not the actual draft
happening in April.
You trust me, you will know when the draft is coming. I'll make sure
you will very much know.
You will know. I promise.
We're doing our first community one. Some other really talented contributors and content creators for other teams. A big chance to interact and network. Make sure you check out the main social @WalkTheMock. Follow all of us, of course, and then just pay attention. And draft season is here, and I am going to stop talking because otherwise I will get into why I think Keon White might be better than Miles Murphy, which
is a good cliffhanger
because no one knows who those people are yet. So
I don't know about no one.
I'm just kidding, but yeah. Honestly, it's been a great season. It's this season was pretty special. Obviously, a lot of ups and downs, but it was a good one, and it feels really good to end it on top of the championship.
So much better.
It feels so much better than having to feel salty after the season because the celebration is going to last for, a whole another year. We have a whole year of feeling celebration. So thank you, both of you, of course, for doing this with me. This has been a great podcast. I've really enjoyed doing it. And thank you all to the listeners, of course, for hanging in with us, tuning in, and enjoying the Chiefs as much as we do with us. So, with that being said, be sure to follow us at Kingdom Says Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Sure, follow all of our personals as well at Garrett720, at KThen16, and at Arrowhead Tom. We will be back. Who knows how soon we'll be back. We'll still a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover type phase, but we've got a lot of great draft content coming up very shortly. We'll have special guests on and all that. So it's going to be a good off season, obviously, as the champs. So thank you all so much for watching Chiefs Kingdom. And Kyle?
How about those
Chiefs? Tom didn't do it.
He's muted. He's always muted.
He gets it. Great episode, boys. Let's do this again soon. Be sure to follow us, all that stuff. Thank you all listening, watching. Goodbye.